Hello and welcome back to another video, and in this one I'm doing my Premier League predictions. So let's get right into it. Right, starting at the bottom, obviously we've got three newly promoted teams this season, being Burnley, Sheffield United and Luton. Three teams went down, Southampton, Leeds and Leicester. We won't be talking about them today. Instead we'll be talking about those three newly promoted teams and yeah, the other teams. I don't know what I'm on about. But let's get right into it. 20th, I've put Sheffield United. I know there'll be a lot of people who'll be looking at that thinking, yes, they're not going to do well, but surely not bottom. I mean, they weren't that good in the Championship. They were good, but they weren't exactly incredible. And I think they sold one of their good players to the French League. One of the key players who promoted them. I don't know what business they're really doing either. I think they signed Trusty from us. I know that, but I don't know if they've signed anyone else. Um, I really don't know how much business they've done, and their pre-season hasn't looked good, to say the least. I'll go through their pre-season quickly. Where does pre-season start? There, I'm guessing. They beat Chesterfield. They beat a team I can't. They didn't even beat them. They drew with a team I can't pronounce the name of. Lost to Rotherham. Lost to Girona. Beat Derby. And the next game is against Stuttgart before the Prem kicks off on Saturday the 12th. So fair enough. It's not awful, but it's not exactly good. And yeah, I just don't think it's going to be a great season for them. I think they'll be going straight back down, unfortunately. But they're not gonna, like, I'm hearing people say Sheffield United and Luton are gonna be competing for Derby's record of 11 um, points, with the record lowest points to get in the Premier League season. I think both Sheffield United and Luton will absolutely clear that. People are saying this is the least competitive Premier League. I do agree. It's one of the least competitive we've had in a while, but the level is not exactly abysmal. And I think those teams can pick up points here and there. And I think most teams will. So I'm pretty sure with what I've said there, it's pretty much a given who I've put in 19th. I've put Luton 19th. Most people are probably going to be putting them 20th. So I think 19th. A lot of Luton fans would look at that and think, we're expecting to go down. To not go down last would be quite nice. So I don't think they would be looking at that too negatively. Obviously, Luton fans will be looking at it dreaming of 17th, dreaming of survival. But I don't think that's really going to happen for them, unfortunately. I mean, don't get me wrong, they're doing okay. I'll have a look at Luton's pre-season quickly, but I don't think that's going well either. They did alright in the Championship, managed to beat Coventry and get promoted, but no matter who won that final, I was confident they weren't going to do well. So Luton's pre-season kicked off there. They beat Peterborough, they drew with Ipswich, and they beat Sheffield Wednesday. Very mid pre-season. They've not really played anyone who you would look at and think, yeah, that's a good result. That's a result that will make them seem like they can do well in the Premier League. They're all just kind of decent results against lower league teams in English football. Nothing amazing there. And yeah, they look like they have got more pre-season. Yeah, they're playing Wolves today. Maybe that could be the upturn. If they can get a result against Wolves, fair enough. But I have a feeling they're going to get absolutely hammered by Wolves. I don't know why. I don't think Wolves will do too much better than them in the league, to be honest. But I just have a feeling today Wolves will do a job on them. Because I don't think they're ready for the Premier League yet. As the season goes on, they'll start picking up more points. Same with Sheffield United, but I think at the start they're just not ready whatsoever. 18th, I've put Bournemouth. They had a good year last year-ish. Didn't start particularly well, but now it's looking like, they're probably going to stay up. because a lot of people are looking at what they said, what they did last season, and saying, yes, they got rid of O'Neill, who kept them up, but surely they have the same squad. They're saying they have an improved manager. Surely they will stay up. I just don't trust that process. I don't know why they've sacked Gary O'Neill. And I think it's a step backwards for Bournemouth. And I think they'll go down. Probably mainly because of that step that put them on the back foot. Sacking your manager after he's just saved you from relegation doesn't feel right to me. I don't see what Bournemouth are doing. I don't think the plan's going to work, and I think they're going down. Personally. 17th now, so the team that's just about staying up. Wolverhampton Wanderers. I've heard many people saying they're actually going to go down. That doesn't even surprise me, because Wolves, they're not doing well at all. I remember when they were finishing 7th, getting into Europa League football quite regularly, and now they're just not doing very much at all. I don't think they're having a good pre-season either. I don't think they've lost in pre-season. I haven't seen a loss from Wolves in pre-season, but they've not really played anyone big. I think they played Porto and won, which is a okay, good result, fair enough. But most of their pre-season's been very average. And yeah, for me, Wolves are going to have a very difficult year. But they'll kind of do the sort of thing Everton did at the end of last season and just about stay up on the last day. I think the same thing will happen for the team I've put 16th, which is Everton. I think it'll maybe go down to the last day, maybe a couple games before, but it's not going to be an easy season for Everton. I'm hearing a lot of people saying Everton are doing a good amount of business now. Not good, but if they're doing business, that could point them in the right direction to survive, or if they get more players in. Obviously, they've signed Danjuma, they're bringing in more players. Apparently, there's some striker coming from Sporting or something. They're bringing in firepower, they're bringing in players who can help them to survive. But I still think, as much as I think they will survive, it'll be a very challenging year for them still. But, yeah, I don't know. Everton are, yeah. Again, they're another team that's had a pre-season against average teams. I think they're playing Sporting at the weekend, but they've just not done a lot in pre-season. Nothing too impressive, to be honest. They beat Wigan. I drew with Bolton. Oh dear. And they beat Stoke. Lovely. Yeah, not too bad of a pre-season. They've not lost any games, but they're just not playing any massive teams. And I think, again, the Sporting game, which is on Saturday, will be a massive test for Everton. I feel like a lot of teams are having one big pre-season game before the season kicks off, like on this weekend of the Community Shield, and are looking at and using that game to see how they'll do. And I think a lot of people will make their Prem predictions after that game, after this weekend. I'm making them on the Wednesday. What's the date today? Wednesday the 2nd. So yeah, I'm making them a bit early. Prem doesn't kick off for, I think, 9 days, because it kicks off on the Friday. So yeah, it's yeah. There'll be a lot of possible changes, but this is my final prediction. And I don't trust Everton to survive too easily, to be honest. 15th, I put Burnley, newly promoted. The only one of the 3 newly promoted teams I'm backing to survive. I don't really know about Burnley. They don't fill me with too much doubt that they'll survive. I know people say they're going to go down last. I've seen predictions some people have made. Someone said they'd go down last. I have absolutely no idea why you're saying that. If it happens, it happens, and I'll be looking like a bit of a moron. But for me, why is Burnley going to go down? They got Vincent Kompany at the wheel. They're bringing in reinforcements. They just won the championship with something like their record points. So I don't know if it was, but it was close if it wasn't. They're having a very successful time in the championship. and now they're back in the Premier League. I just don't see how they go down. If they do, they do, and I'll look like a moron, as I said. But I just think Burnley are going to stay up. Now, moving on to 14th, I've gone with Fulham. I don't know about Fulham, you know. I really don't. Because they got rid of Mitrovic, and people have said, I've heard people saying about a million times in this video, but I have heard people saying that without Mitrovic, Fulham will fall and get close to relegation. I think they'll fall to mid-table. I don't think they're going to be near relegation. I guess they're mid-table last season, but I think they'll fall into the lower half of that mid-table, just above the relegation zone, really. I think they'll be alright. But yeah, I don't think it'll be a nightmare season for Fulham, but without Mitrovic, they'll struggle for goals a bit. Because I don't think Raul Jimenez is going to do a job anywhere near the level of Mitrovic, unfortunately. He's not been the same since that injury. Moving on to 13th, I've put Nottingham Forest. I don't know why I'm so filled with confidence of Nottingham Forest. I'm pretty sure I put them 13th last season. But I've put them there again. I'm looking at it now thinking, why have I done that? But, yeah, I think it's a reasonable prediction to put Nottingham Forest 13th. Because they're not exactly doing badly, Nottingham Forest. They survived last season with some good results towards the end. Obviously, then they had a lot of good players on loan who have left. Renan Lodi included, Keylor Navas, obviously. But yeah, there's a lot of business that needs to be done, but I think they will get it done. They don't seem to be a team that shies away from signing players, that's for sure. So we'll see if they do get that business done. And if they do, then that should be all sorted for Nottingham Forest, and I think they'll survive comfortably if they get it done. But priority for them has to be signing a goalkeeper. 100%. 12th, I've put West Ham. I think it'll be a year of comfortable survival for West Ham. They struggled a lot last year. This year I don't think there'll be a similar problem. I think they'll be absolutely fine. Obviously this year they have got to deal with Europa League football. Last year it was only conference. So some people could argue it could be a little bit worse. But I don't think it's going to be a nightmare for West Ham. I think they'll survive pretty okay in 12th. And I think they'll have a decent run in the Europa League as well. If not, get knocked out in the groups, get in the conference again, have another go. But yeah, I think it's going to be a good season for West Ham, to be honest. I know some West Ham fans will probably say 12th isn't a good season. But I don't think 12th is an absolutely abysmal season either. I think it's pretty good. And I think they'll take that and see the positives. 11th, I've put Crystal Palace. I don't know why, they just always finish 11th or 12th. That's literally my only explanation for that. I just think they'll beat West Ham, they'll beat Nottingham Forest, and they'll beat Fulham. And I think they'll beat every team below them, because I think they're a level above all of them. Only really Fulham or West Ham could be going above that, but I don't think they will. Forest also could if they got a lot of business done, which is why I've put those three in that range behind them. But I just don't think any of them have what it takes to break into the top 10, to be honest. Yeah, moving on to 10th, I've put Brentford. A bit of a backward year. They finished, 8th last year? Or was it 9th? No, it was 9th last year. The 10th this year is not awful. Realistically, Chelsea were always going to jump them. And it's going to be a little bit more of a struggle without Ivan Toney for the first half of the season. So obviously it was always going to be difficult, and I think 10th is pretty realistic for Brentford. I don't think they'll be complaining too much with that. Still comfortably surviving in the Premier League, no problems. And not too long from now, maybe they'll start breaking closer to European football. 9th. Now, obviously, I'm an Arsenal fan. This could be a bit controversial, but I'm going to say it. I think Tottenham will finish 9th. Because I think there's 8 teams in this league that are better than them. Now, obviously, that seems a bit obvious. for me to say I'm putting them ninth. I think there's 8 teams better. But I do genuinely believe they are the ninth best team in the league. I don't think they've done any business this summer that's making me think it's going to be better for them. Ninth is optimistic. That's if they keep Harry Kane. If they lose Harry Kane, Brentford could finish above them. God forbid Palace could. You know, that team is relying on Harry Kane staying. I don't think Maddison's going to do anything for them. And I think ninth is reasonable. Even though they won't have European football, the only position I could see them fight for is 8th. And the team up for 8th is Brighton. The only reason I see Brighton being lower than Tottenham is if the extra games of playing in Europa League is costing Brighton a little bit. I could see that happen. But for me, anyone who's saying on paper Tottenham have a better team than Brighton, it's just difficult to say that now. Obviously they have a better striker. They probably have better wingers. But everywhere else, Brighton almost dominate them. Brighton are just... They have such a good team now. They do business so smart. They can find a player from anywhere to do a job. Genuinely, they sell Caicedo, which they haven't done. They do that, raise 80 million. They won't even need to spend it, because they'll just find the money from someone. They'll find the players from somewhere else on a cheap. I think they must have the best scouting network in the country to be able to do that. And I have a feeling they do have one of the best scouting systems in the country. And they get their business done so well as well. That squad, I don't know the exact numbers, but the squad value is so much higher than what it was bought for. So much higher. Brighton is one of the most well-run football clubs in the country. And I think 8th is realistic, because they're having to balance Europa League football with the Premier League, and I don't think they'll be able to keep pushing into Europa League spots with relying on Europa League football. And that is the only reason I could see Tottenham finish above them, but I still don't think they will. And if Harry Kane leaves, as I say, that's a nightmare for Tottenham. Right, moving on to 7th, I've put Chelsea, 5 places above where they were last year. Finished 12th last year, awful season. This year I think will be a little bit better for them, getting up to 7th, breaking into Conference League football. I think there's a bit too much hype about Nkunku and Nicholas Jackson. They'll both do a job, but neither of them are going to break them into top 4 or anything. They're nowhere near that level, in my opinion. I think Conference League is realistic, because I was talking to someone the other day about Chelsea, and I was thinking, who do they have in midfield? Because who have they sold from their midfield this summer? They've sold Kante, Kovacic, Mount, Havertz. Everyone's gone. Who have they actually got left? They got Conor Gallagher. He'll do a job. They got Enzo Fernandez. I don't really know who they're playing in their midfield this season. I mean, if they're playing a midfield 2 and a back 5, fair enough, but then who's your 3 centre-backs? Have you got 3 centre-backs who can do a job? Are you playing Chalobah? I just don't see how Chelsea are going to get into Champions League football. I've seen people putting them 3rd, 4th, and I'm looking at it like, how are you putting them in that level? They are nowhere near that level. I can't see it possibly happen for them, unfortunately. Well, not unfortunately. I don't want them to. But unfortunately for Chelsea, I don't think it's going to happen. 6th, I've put Aston Villa. People are underestimating Villa. So many people are underestimating them. I have no idea why. The business they've done this season is out of this world. And then they got Conference League. Nobody expected Unai Emery to actually go all in with signing massive players for the club, which they have genuinely done. This season, who have they sold? Marvelous Nakamba to Luton. Ashley Young went to Everton. They've loaned out a couple of older players. and maybe some younger players. I don't really know. I can't bother to look. But they've signed Pau Torres, who's an amazing centre back. He'll link up with what's his name? Their other centre back, who's very very good. They'll link up with Musa. They'll sign. They've signed Moussa Diaby, which for me, unbelievable. How have they signed Moussa Diaby for 55 million? Where have Aston Villa found 88 million? I know Conference League money, but surely it's not that much. It's Conference. But still, absolutely fair play to Aston Villa with what they've done this summer. I think that club is absolutely going in the right direction. And I don't see how they don't get Europa League football next season, personally. I think it's almost an absolute. Moving on to fifth, I've put Newcastle. I just don't think they can keep top four with balancing Champions League football. And I think the team that I've put fourth, which is quite obvious, which doesn't have Champions League football, will have an advantage in that respect, and that will help them to get Champions League football this season. So yeah, Newcastle fifth. I think they've done decent business, but I just don't see how Tonali's actually going to fit their system. I mean, he will fit the system, but will he fit the club? Will Tonali? I just don't see it working. I don't know what it is. I can't put it into words how Tonali won't work, but for some reason it just doesn't seem like it'll work. I don't know. On paper, a midfield of him, Bruno Guimaraes, and someone else is outstanding. But I don't know, it just doesn't work in my head. Maybe it's just my brain not being used to it. But to Newcastle signing amazing players. But I don't know. I guess we'll see. And obviously I did hint to it. Fourth, I've put Liverpool. Realistically, I think Liverpool will get Champions League football next season. Maybe they've not done the business for some people, but I think McAllister's a positive signing. Szoboszlai is also an amazing player they've signed. I don't know how to pronounce his name. That's as close as we're going to get. Yeah, I think they've done positive business. Maybe a little bit more could be done, but I don't think they've really done anything wrong. And I think they're pointing in the right direction as a football club at Liverpool. So yeah, I think there's a lot of positives there, and I think Jurgen Klopp's team will be back in Champions League. But I still think there's 3 teams that will perform better next season. Moving on to third place, I've put Manchester United. I guess with United it's a bit of an odd one because people will put them a lot lower and a lot higher. It's the same with Arsenal. People will put them a lot higher or a lot lower. I'm hearing some people say both of those clubs won't get Champions League. I mean, there's no way both of them don't really, but people are saying one of them won't each. I've heard both. Well, but the thing is, with both clubs, they have very mixed pre-seasons. I mean, Arsenal's pre-season, in my opinion, has been much better than United's pre-season. But in the same way, when they went head-to-head, United beat Arsenal in pre-season. So maybe it's just my brain. It's just I don't really know who's going to finish higher out of those two. So maybe I've given away the league there, but I'm not gonna say them yet. Manchester United, I've put they beat Leeds, beat Lyon, beat Arsenal, lost to Wrexham, lost to Real Madrid, lost to Dortmund. It's very mixed as a pre-season, very very mixed. And in terms of business, they've not signed a striker yet. They're about to sign the Atalanta striker, which for me is a bit of an odd one. I don't really know why they're signing him. It doesn't make an awful lot of sense for me, to be honest. But yeah, I don't know. They need a striker, and if that's the one they want to get, fair enough. But that's not breaking you into the top 2, because his stats are not good enough. He scored less than Balogun, who's possibly going to be Arsenal's third choice striker if we keep him. So, yeah, I don't think that's breaking you in a top three, personally. Yeah, and especially with the price tag, 71 million they're prepared to spend on him. People were laughing at us for 65 on Kai Havertz. Kai Havertz will perform better next season than him, trust me. I may look like an idiot, but I believe that to be the truth. Yeah, moving on now to Arsenal. I feel like I gave it away a minute ago. Second place, I put Arsenal. Manchester United for me aren't in the question. I know I've pretty much said they're in the question the last 10 minutes. For me, yes, they're in the question. I will not deny that. But as the season goes on, I think it's going to become the same title race we had last year between the club I support, Arsenal, and Manchester City. Do I think this season we have what it takes to beat Manchester City? I don't. Not yet. Maybe as the window goes on, my mind will change, but I have to make the predictions based off now. And right now, set in stone in my head, we have absolutely no chance of beating Manchester City comfortably. We could challenge them, we could pip them maybe. But for me, I think right now, City have to be the big favourites. Obviously, Arsenal have had a very good pre-season. We drew with Nuremberg, beat the MLS All-Stars 5-0, lost to United, which wasn't ideal, but then we hammered Barcelona, and now we've got Monaco today. Then the Community Shield will be a big defining factor in that. If we can beat City there, maybe my mind will be changed, but I'm making the predictions before that. So it's a bit of an odd one. Do I predict us to win the league? I'm thinking about changing it, but I'm not going to. We're going to finish second, realistically. But amazing business. We've gone closer to City this window, 100%. No one can deny that. Because City have not signed the players they need to sign. We have. We've signed Declan. We've signed Kai Havertz. We've signed Jurrien Timber. It gives us the depth we need. We need a new striker. We need another midfielder. We need another backup winger. We possibly need a defender. But if we can get it all done, well then we're in the right direction. And I think we'll comfortably beat United with the players we already have, to be honest. Same with all the other teams, really. I think there's a possibility of a 3-horse race. Or a 2-horse race between United and Arsenal for second. But I think there's a 2-horse race for the title, honestly. I think it'll happen again. And I think City will win the league. Simply because I think they're going to do the business. They've lost Mahrez, they've lost Gundogan. But I think they're going to make the business happen. They're going to sign Gvardiol. And if that happens, they have the best defensive partnership in the league, possibly the world. And I think at that point, City almost guaranteed the league title. We can still challenge them, and I think we will with the players we have. But I don't think we can pip them to the league. I don't think there's any way, personally, unfortunately. We'll do our best, but I don't think we can get there. So yeah, that is going to wrap this up. I'll do another video going through my winner of every top league. But before this video ends, I'm going to go with my Golden Boot winner, which is Erling Haaland. Is pretty obvious. But I'm also going to do Player of the Season and Young Player of the Season. However, unfortunately, both of those are going to be Haaland. Maybe this is a bit of a not very exciting one, but I'm saying they're all going to be Haaland quite simply because Haaland has been the best player last season. I think he was the best player in the world last season, personally. People will argue for Messi or Mbappe, but for me, Haaland was the best player in the world last season. So yeah, that is going to wrap this up. Thanks for watching, and goodbye.